Good morning, and welcome to South Church Virtual Services. Whether you're joining us for the first time, only come occasionally, or are here every week, we welcome you. Thank you for joining us. I am Bret Newbury. I am one of a team of worship associates that assists our interim minister, Reverend Susan Sahusky Brown, and our director of Lifespan Ministries, Kirsten Hunter, to bring these services together every week. Today, we have a guest speaker in Jane Carroll Kavanaugh speaking from the pulpit today. Jane has been a member of South Church for 30 years. She has been a teacher, a counselor, and a life coach. She is also a former worship associate. We are happy to welcome Jane to the virtual pulpit this week. Today's music will be provided by Susan Adams. I also wish to thank Jen Del Deo and Jen Leiden and all the other people that work behind the scenes to bring these services together. So join us now in our service. Thank you.
Mark your calendars for a day of cleaning to get South Church ready for us to come back to our space. On Saturday, August 21st, from 10 to noon, we will gather at the church to spend time cleaning, organizing, and prepping the space for our return. Please consider coming to help spruce everything up. The latest statistics say that the divorce rate of those 55 and over is over a whopping 45%. If you are in it, thinking about it, have been through it by your choice or otherwise, let's connect. Those age 50 and over are invited to gather a few times in a safe, supportive, forward-looking group on Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. beginning in August. If you're interested, please email Susan Adams at spa378@gmail.com. And please join us for a special congregational meeting on Sunday, August 22nd at 11:15 a.m. on Zoom. This important meeting is to discuss two key items: increasing our UUA dues for the remainder of 2021 and using approved funds from our credit line to fund important capital projects. More information can be found in your Sunday morning email.
Faith is a forest in which doubts play and hide. Insight can hear the still small voice deep inside. Web of life, may this thread I weave strengthen commitment to all I believe. Vision be my guide as I see my way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say.
Good morning. As I was thinking about this month's topic of change, I thought back to the thermodynamics classes I took in college while learning to be an engineer. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that entropy, a measure of disorder, tends to increase over time. It is a measure of heat energy that is lost to disorder when trying to convert to mechanical energy. It is why perpetual motion cannot exist and perfect efficiency cannot be obtained. If that sounds overly technical to you, don't worry. Just think of it as a physical law that the universe moves toward disorder. That increase in disorder is fundamentally change. Some scientists believe that we perceive the increased disorder as time. That can be further simplified to our sense of time is really our sense of change. That would make change a fundamental piece of the universe. It has certainly been a fundamental part of my universe. As a child of divorce, twice a year my home would change, from my mom's house to my dad's house and back. When young, I sought to minimize the change, from my perspective, by bringing all my worldly goods with me: clothes, G.I. Joes, Transformers, and so on. As I grew, first, My parents put a limit on what I took. 1 box of toys plus clothes. And I got smart. G.I. Joes at Dad's house, Transformers at Mom's house. This increased the change, but kept me comfortable. I continued to grow, and my toys changed too. By high school, I had learned to transport myself in one oversized duffel bag. I cut to the necessities and lived with a greater sense of change. This is a lesson that I continue to learn and relearn in different circumstances, that I can deal with and even prosper with change. Change is hard. The unexpected, the unknown, the unintended consequences. I still tend to be somewhat deliberate about change, to the point that I sometimes even get stuck. Others seem to revel in the excitement or even need change to feel their lives are complete. Sometimes I envy these people, and then I look back at my youth and realize that I can still change how I deal with change. We light the chalice today with this thought from former President Barack Obama. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. I invite you to recite the mission statement with me as shown on your screen. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community.
Good morning. I've been sitting out here on my porch and the weather keeps changing. It started out sunny, then it got windy, and now there's a big cloud and we might get a storm. And it reminded me of a story that I'd like to share with you that's an old Japanese folktale, and it's called The Stonecutter. So once upon a time, there was a stonecutter, and every day he traveled to a big mountain to cut pieces of stone that would get used for sculptures or walls or sometimes even churches. Well, he knew the best kinds of stone for every project, and he was a fine craftsman, and people really admired him for his work. For a long time, he was quite happy and content. So he went on doing his work until one day he delivered a stone sculpture to the house of a very rich man. The house was huge and it was filled with beautiful, luxurious things. Suddenly, the stonecutter's life felt small and insignificant, and he said, "I wish I was a rich man, then I'd be so happy." Well, when he got home, where his small house used to be, there was now a great big house, and it was filled with fancy, luxurious, beautiful things. Well, he was beside himself with joy, and he climbed into the big, soft bed, and he went to sleep happy, thinking he was the most lucky man in the whole world, filled with power and beauty. When he woke up, he could hear something going on outside, and he looked out the window and saw a parade. And in the parade, there was a prince being carried by a bunch of servants, and they were carrying him up high on a golden chair. And everyone that the prince passed bowed down to him. And the man thought, "Ooh, how powerful that prince is. I wish I was a prince so everyone would admire me like that." And just like that, he became a prince. He had servants and he was carried around in a golden chair, and all the villagers bowed down to him as he passed. But up there, the sun was shining on him, and it made him hot and sticky and uncomfortable up there in his fancy chair. He thought, "That sun is more powerful than I am. I wish I was the sun so I could know how it is to be so powerful and beautiful." And just like that, he became the sun. He sat up there in the sky and he shot his sunbeams out in all directions, and he was happy. He shone so fiercely that he scorched the fields and he made sunburns on all the people. And it went on like this until a storm cloud passed between him and the earth. Well, that storm cloud blocked his rays, and he thought, that storm cloud is more powerful than I am. I wish I was a storm cloud. And just like that, he became a storm cloud. So there he was, shielding the earth from the sun, and soon the fields became green again, and the sunburns healed, and the people were relieved, and he was happy. And that storm cloud rained, and then he poured, and soon the rivers were flooded and the crops washed away. At some point, he felt himself moving, and he was being pushed, and he realized it was because of a great wind. This wind is stronger than I am. I wish I was the wind so I could be so powerful. And just like that, he was the wind. So now he blew around and he dried the flooded earth and he moved everything that he went by. And this was fun and he was happy. Until he bumped into something that was hard and wouldn't move. He bumped and bumped against it, but it would not budge. So he looked at this thing and he saw that it was a huge rock. And he thought, "That is one powerful rock. I wish I was that rock so nothing could push me around." And just like that, he became a rock. So there he stood, all tall and strong, unbreakable, unshakable, unmovable, and he was proud and happy, or so he thought, until he heard down by his feet a noise. And then there was a tapping, a shaking, and a crack. When he looked down, he saw a stonecutter using tools to harvest a big chunk of stone from his enormous self. And he said, "How powerful he is. I wish I was a human." And just like that, there he was, back where he started. He returned to his small house with his simple tools and possessions, and he saw the beauty and the power that he'd always had. He looked the same, and his work was the same. He was changed only in his heart, and this time he was truly happy. The end. Change can teach us so much about who we really are. And the most important changes are the ones that bring us back to being our true selves. Isn't that what we do here? I'll be seeing you soon in all your beauty and power that you've always had. And I can't wait.
It is now time for the offering. Each month, the South Church community shares our non-pledge donations with a worthy cause within our community. This month, we are sharing our money with a Black Lives Matter group, BLM Seacoast. This is a local group with the following goals. They wish to nurture Black youth leadership, support the Black community through mutual aid projects such as food drives and scholarships. They promote Black-owned businesses, and they demand an investment into education, social services, and enhancing the health of Black people. They also demand investments be moved away from exploitive forces that have harmed and criminalized the Black community. This is a very worthy endeavor, so please give generously to support the BLM Seacoast group as well as the programs of South Church. Donations can be mailed to our Court Street address or can be made via the website. Both are shown on the next screen. Thank you.
Oh, we give thanks, oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for this precious day. We're all gathered here, we're all gathered here, and those far away, and those far away. For this time we share, for this time we share, with love and care, with love and care. Oh, we give thanks, oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for this precious day.
It is now time to enter a state of peace and prayer. Take a moment to settle into your surroundings. Take a deep breath and calm your thoughts. Let us offer our thoughts and energy to those of our community who are struggling with health issues, mental issues, family issues, and other stresses. Give these people, our fellow humans, the energy to pass through these troubles. In the greater world, send our well wishes to the Capitol and D.C. Metro Police, still suffering from the after effects of January 6th. Their suffering has been put on plain view this week, and it is more than I ever understood. Send our thoughts to the young athletes competing on the world stage who have to deal with the pressures and criticisms that have caused so many to reach out for mental health help. The position we have put these young people in is more than most can stand. And pray for the people living through and fighting the wildfires to the west. Those who have lost their homes, those that risk their lives to protect others from losing everything. Finally, pray for the change you want to see in the world, in your community, and in yourself. Blessings on you all.
Before we begin, please have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil available. Benacht, that's the Gaelic word for blessing, and is probably one of the few words in Gaelic that I know. We're going to give some thought to change and the gift of resilience today. As a child, the only meaning I knew for change were the coins that my father jingled in his trouser pockets. He did this when he was either nervous or perplexed, and that was change. Everything in my life was quite predictable. We lived in a 3-story duplex in a working class neighborhood, along with my maternal grandfather, my maternal aunt, a maternal uncle, and my parents, and me, and another maternal aunt who came for the noontime meal every day. We called that meal dinner. Life stayed the same. My best friend Patty lived a couple of blocks away. It was an easy bike ride. For the first 16 years of my life, we lived in the same house, attended the same school, the same church, ate the same foods, and bought a new Plymouth without a radio or air conditioning every 3 years, whether we needed it or not. Trauma and turbulence fill the next several decades. But I'm not here to tell you of that saga today. Suffice to say, there was earth-shattering change, and apparently the many gifts of resilience. I am here today. How about you? Were your growing up years staid and predictable? What change or lack of change influenced who you are today? Take a couple minutes to jot down some thoughts about were your growing up years staid and predictable, or what change or lack of change influenced who you are today? You can go back and continue writing after we've finished. The years preceding my birth were the years of change. In 1863, a baby girl was born to Mary Driscoll and her husband, James Murphy, in the tiny town of Drimoleague, County Cork, Ireland. Her name was Julia. Julia's father, James, died shortly thereafter. Her mother, Mary, remarried and had several more children. Julia knew she needed to leave this blended family. Change was already embedded in Julia's psyche. Fast forward to the year 1879. Julia, now 16, boarded a cattle boat alone in the Irish port of Cobb. Julia crossed the Atlantic Ocean. She could not read nor write in English. Ultimately, Julia became an American citizen, married an industrious man named Edward Kavanaugh, and had 6 children. She survived 2 world wars, the Depression, and the death of her youngest child in the pandemic of 1918. Her first 2 children, the oldest children in the family, were girls. They graduated from college. That represents a lot of change and a lot of resilience, in one generation. As you have probably guessed, Julia was my paternal grandmother. My family went from having this daring matriarch to being one of the most risk-averse clans I know. None of my aunts and uncles, including my parents, lived outside of Strafford County, where they were born. On both the maternal and paternal sides of my family, no one left their home of origin before they turned 35. What factor is it that encourages a young woman to leave her family for a foreign country, and the very next generation to be so apparently timid? Lately, I heard from a coaching colleague. Besides being an outstanding coach, he's also a professor emeritus at the Coaches Training Institute. After 30 years, Ken has decided to give up this fulfilling career. He hasn't decided what to do next. He is welcoming change. He asks the question, what do you long to change in your life? And Who or what is calling you? Take a few minutes to answer those questions yourself. What do you long to change in your life? And what or who is calling you? Again, if you haven't finished, go back later and answer those questions. What do you long to change in your life? And who or what is calling you? I polled a number of people with these questions. Many talked of the change they anticipate as they retire. Others mourned childhood trauma and begged for life without these memories. One spoke enthusiastically of an upcoming cross-country move so that she can live closer to a young grandchild that she has yet to meet. Another looks forward to a brand new role as a guardian ad litem. She writes that she welcomes this change. She is grateful for the gifts she has amassed during her 77 years that have prepared her for this role. The most poignant story of change and resulting resilience comes from a friend whose relatively young husband experienced a massive cerebral hemorrhage 3 weeks ago. He is recovering in a Boston hospital. He lost his ability to speak, write, walk, talk, laugh. She calls this traumatic event unbidden change. She's grateful for the resilience that has occurred already. She is able to drive from the Maine, New Hampshire seacoast to Boston every day to visit him. And she has rediscovered a former passion for photography as she walks around Boston neighborhoods. Have you experienced unbidden change? Are you more resilient now? As I write these words, I can hear in the background that our US Senate is preparing to vote on the infrastructure bill. Speaking of change, let us welcome these proposed changes to our life, and let us be grateful for the resulting resilience that we will build. Let it be so.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Benacht by John O'Donohue. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. When your eyes freeze over behind the gray window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of delight. And when the canvas frays in the current of thought and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of the light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. And may the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mend your life. Blessed be.